There's an unspoken rule about comedians. They see everything. They see the good, the bad, the absurd, and especially the painful. Comedy at its core is an act of observation, peeling back the layers of everyday life to expose the things that we often ignore or don't want to talk about. And it's that keen observational ability that makes comedians such great dramatic actors. To craft a truly funny joke, a comedian has to take a microscope to life. They dissect the mundane, the tragic, and the ridiculous, finding the humor hidden in plain sight. Robin Williams wasn't just doing rapid fire impressions or zany voices, he was holding a mirror up to society and reflecting back its quirks and contradictions. His ability to embody the nuances of a character in Good Will Hunting or The Dead Poet Society came from years of studying humanity. I mean, how else could somebody go from riffing on the absurdity of parenthood to giving a monologue about seizing the day with such sincerity? Similarly, Eddie Murphy's comedy often played with stereotypes and social expectations, forcing audiences to examine the world through his sharp, satirical lens. But when he transitioned to roles like James Thunder Early in Dreamgirls, it was clear that his knack for observing and imitating human behavior wasn't just a comedic tool, but a dramatic one. Murphy's ability to pick up on the subtleties of people's flaws and desires gave him a depth that could evoke empathy and sadness just as easily as laughter. So, what's the secret? Why are comedians so good at drama? Well, it boils down to this: comedy comes from a lot of pain. The best comedians aren't just funny, they're hyper aware of life's absurdities, tragedies, and injustices. They've spent years mining their own experiences and observations for laughs, but the same depth and understanding makes them uniquely equipped to tackle more serious roles. Comedy also requires empathy, timing, and authenticity, which are all skills that are essential for dramatic roles. A good joke lands because it feels real, just like a dramatic scene resonates because it feels true. For comedians, stepping into drama is not a departure, it's a natural evolution. They already have the tools for drama, they just need a different script. Jim Carrey is another prime example. His comedy, from The Mask to Dumb and Dumber, relied on exaggerated, hyper observant physicality. Every frantic tick, every ridiculous gesture came from his acute understanding of how people act and react. And then, in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, that same attention to detail is dialed down and internalized, creating a heartbreakingly vulnerable character. Jim Carrey isn't just performing, he's channeling a lifetime of watching and understanding people. Comedians aren't just funny because they see life's absurdities. They're funny because they live them. Many comedians wrestle with very dark issues and dark periods in their life, and they use the comedy to combat them. And that darkness doesn't just go away, it shapes them to who they are. But when they step into more dramatic roles, it's right there ready to be used. Robin Williams struggled with addiction and depression for much of his life. His comedy was often a way to mask the pain and lift himself and others out of the darkness. But when you watch his dramatic roles, you can feel the undercurrent of vulnerability. His performance in Good Will Hunting, where he talks about his late wife's imperfections or struggles of finding connection, isn't just acting, it's lived experience. Whoopi Goldberg's journey is equally as compelling. Before her breakthrough, she faced poverty and a lot of life struggles, but her humor became her lifeline. In The Color Purple, Goldberg drew on her resilience to deliver a performance brimming with strength and quiet pain. Her ability to balance the weight of Celie's struggles with moments of levity feels so natural because it mirrors her own ability to find light in the darkness. Jamie Foxx has spoken about growing up in a strict, challenging environment, using humor to navigate the world where expectations were high and outlets for emotional expressions were low. His comedy, from Stand Up to In Living Color, was rooted in his ability to turn pain into punchlines. But when he took on the role of Ray Charles, that pain was no longer just for jokes. It was fuel for a performance so raw and authentic that it left audiences stunned. Adam Sandler often hides behind his goofball persona, but beneath the surface, there's always a simmering sadness and anger. His dramatic turn in Punch Drunk Love reveals a character who's emotionally raw and deeply insecure, mirroring the vulnerability that Sandler often hints at in his stand-up work or his more comedic films. I mean, it's not hard to believe that someone that's spent an entire career making people laugh have their own bouts with sadness and loneliness. Jim Carrey's struggles with depression are well documented, and you can feel that tension both in his comedy work and his dramatic work. His need to be on as a comedian with a whirlwind of impressions and energy often was a tool to stay away from his own dark thoughts. As a writer, I often find myself writing more comedic things when I'm at my lowest points. And it's to get out of that darkness, and it helps to just be funny. In The Truman Show, Carrey channels his existential pain into a character that's grappling with the realization that their entire life is a performance. When you look at a comedic actor like Jim Carrey, who always has to be on or feels like they always have to be on, you can see the parallels between him and his character in The Truman Show. This combination of sharp observation and personal struggle gives comedians an extra tool to connect with audiences on a deeper level. Dramatic actors are often imitating life, or comedic actors are always satirical about life. And in order to be satirical, you have to have a deeper understanding about something in order to point out its flaws and absurdities. Comedians have spent their lives paying attention to the little details, to what makes people tick and what makes people break. They've also spent their lives turning pain into something digestible and enjoyable for others. So when they step into dramatic roles, they're not just pretending to feel, they're drawing from a real lived experience. If you like this video or like any of the content on this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Also, consider becoming a member of my Patreon to help me continue making videos. Hit the link in the description for more. Now, when it all boils down, comedians are great dramatic actors because they've already done the hard part. Dramatic actors will often take months studying a character, understanding life's quirks, and making them real, but comedians have done that their entire lives. They've taken the difficult parts of life and made them more relatable. In a way, comedians are prepping for dramatic roles every day. They've learned to see the world for all of its absurdities and beauty, but also to take the absurdities and turn it into art. The shift from comedy to drama isn't a leap, it's a change in tone. It's a way of using the same tools to create a different kind of impact. That's why all of these performances feel so genuine. When Robin Williams tells you it's not your fault, or when Jamie Foxx pours his soul into a Ray Charles song, or when Jim Carrey quietly breaks down an Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, you believe them. Because it's not an act, it's life. And they've already lived it.